Hey,
Welcome. How's it going?
good. How are you?
Doing great, thanks. It's a good day. It's a good day to be
It,
alive.
it is a good
I mean,
day.
there's plenty of troubles going on in the world, but it's a good day to be alive.
Are there ever troubles?
hmm
But
Yeah,
it's
the
Wednesday.
only,
We're not gonna worry about them.
but yeah, I mean that's right. Welcome to the show. That's
Yeah.
what we're about. No explanation needed. This is Don't Worry Wednesday, the show where we talk about whatever is on your mind, whatever is bothering you, maybe bothering somebody else, and you're working to, or you're wanting to help them out. Um, maybe someone has recently passed, or maybe you're just having a relationship problem. Anything. Maybe you're having struggles in school. It could be anything, and we're here to help you guys out. We lived lives where we failed a lot of times, so we know what not to do, and we're here to inform you what not to do. As on top of hopefully what maybe you could do. We aren't professional psychologists, psychiatrists, or anything along those lines, but we are people, and
Yes,
people
we
are
are.
pretty similar. I mean, they aren't exactly the same, but they're pretty similar.
Sometimes you're right.
Yeah, I mean, wisdom is wisdom. That's the way it
Mm-hmm.
goes.
Mm-hmm.
Truths are truths. So, yeah.
So
How's chat
asks,
doing?
what was the countdown today? Do you remember the countdown for today?
Wasn't just go?
See, okay, so point of clarification: Jesse is currently on hiatus from producing the show. He's got a lot going on. So since I get to produce the show, I have this preference of just like ripping the band-aid off real fast.
Yeah, I think you just went ready, go.
Yep, it was like 3, 2, 1, go. That was it. Like, bang, we're going.
Yep.
You don't even have time to like think about it.
Yeah. Just feel like, okay, here we are. Roll with it.
Yep.
That's what I do, anyways.
Yeah, because
I'm just gonna improv, anyways. Life is all about improvising everything. Um, well, that's all you can do. You only try. But yeah, it's good to be here, though.
Yeah.
It's been a long week, so it's nice to be back here at Wednesday. Wednesday is like for me, Wednesday is like the start. It's like a starting point. Every time I get to Wednesday, I'm like, it's Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've got the rest of my week, and then it's Wednesday again. And Wednesday is just that crucial like point that like I pivot on. That and Sunday, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
both of
Mm-hmm.
those days. But yeah, it's good to be here.
I agree. It's great to be here. We have Princess helping us out in the chat, keeping us on track. Yeah, and she has posted all the different places you can get in touch with us right there in the chat just for you guys.
Boom.
It's amazing.
She's awesome.
It's amazing. So Ryan, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Doing
Did
fantastic.
you already explain how you are?
Yeah.
Okay.
I love you, Joe.
I love you too. You're amazing.
I love you
I'm
more.
sorry. I gotta. It's weird because I'm like looking at our levels and I'm looking at the stuff.
Hey, I just said I love you more, and then you didn't even respond to me.
I love you more.
I love you more too.
I love you.
All right, now you continue with what you were saying. Don't let me interrupt you. What the heck?
Oh, we've gone there. I can turn this off right now.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Let you do that.
I can turn this off. I can put whatever I want.
This card around. Okay.
I can type
Sorry.
whatever I want into the text line up there. I could say, "Yo."
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I can do one better than that.
you can, huh?
Oh yeah, watch this. I mean, I'm
Watch
about
this.
to do one of those.
Current topic is yo.
Well, I'm gonna take your Y and I'm gonna take your O, and I'm going to mutate it into something that's very foul. Poop.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I went there.
Okay, fine. You want to play that game?
Mm-hmm. You're gonna take my poopy and turn it into another word with all those letters?
Yep.
Or is it going to be poppy seed? Ryan, I had faith in you. Did you type something?
Huh?
Did you put something in the chat?
No, I didn't put anything in the chat. It's
Oh,
the
I
current
was going to say, because
topic.
if you did, I didn't see it. It's nothing's there.
It's going to be the current topic here in a second.
All right.
Yep.
Cool. So,
The current
what do you say
topic.
we get rolling on this thing? I did interrupt you earlier. I don't know what you were going to say, so I apologize. Did you want to continue your thought that you had earlier, if you remember it?
Yeah, our current topic is Ryan looks mighty fine today, don't you think?
Oh, that's really nice of you.
That's our
I don't
current
know.
topic.
Thanks. Yeah, well, we are on topic so far. Thanks, Princess. You know.
It is a nice Criminal Idol shirt. You can get that at Redbubble.
Yep, you can. It's pretty great.
Mm-hmm.
Even with hair and buttons and a cord for your headphones, everything. It still looks good.
Yeah, I want one of those shirts or mugs or something of that nature, but I am not allowed to buy anything from Redbubble.
That's right.
Yep.
You will get in trouble with
I did that.
marketing.
Yeah, in the finance and accounting department, about had a cow when I bought something off of there before.
Yeah. They're like, what on earth are you
Don't
doing?
do
So you
that.
had
I'm
made
like,
your own shirt.
I did.
You quipped it.
outside of the Redbubble. So that way,
Outside of BSS, you made a BSS shirt for yourself
did,
because
I
you're
did.
like, I don't want to get in trouble for buying one of those shirts by BSS. I'm going to make my own.
That's right.
I love it. I love it, Joe. You are amazing.
Yep, and I still haven't told your brother.
That really? That's hilarious. Awesome. Nice.
Yes. So anyway,
All
let's
right.
get started. What do you
Let's go,
say?
yeah.
All right.
Let's go. Okay, so I'm gonna go down the list. If anyone I read off the name of is here, please let us know in the chat. I've got Royal, Sevlev, SK, Pika, Hero, Kaneki. Sorry, there was an anonymous one and I halted because I'm like, I guess I don't really need to say anonymous. But they are here. Baka Breaker, Jesse, Black Eye, Kaan, Vulcan, and Sparrow. All of those people are fantastic people. If you guys ever met them. Every one of them that I read off.
Sparrow here is.
Sparrow here is. All right, Yoda Sparrow is here.
We're nerds. It's our job.
Hero Sparrow is.
Yeah, nerds are great.
We're nerds. It's our job. All right. Fair enough. Okay, so I'm looking at the order of things. It looks like Baka Breaker.
Yeah.
All right. Baka Breaker. Oh wait, here we are. Okay. Princess has beautifully inserted into the chat the link which you can click on to access the vault which carries and holds the text which we are about to consume.
And if
please
you missed
join
it,
us if you will. And if you missed it, please click on Joe's because he will feel happy about that, even though he won't know whether you do it or not.
I gotta tell you, Becca, I love your avatar. Your avatar is boxed.
It is fantastic.
I love it.
It's great.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, well, let's get into it. Princess is going to do the honors of reading it for us, and I'm excited to get started. Let's go.
I don't know how to word this, but how do you release guilt that you know isn't your fault? I was the only one who wasn't there at a family member's passing. It wasn't my fault for missing, but deep down, I still hold guilt for not being there. How do you forgive guilt that you know isn't your fault? From Baka Breaker.
This is a good question. You know, I mean, there are many scenarios in our lives where we miss something or, you know, due to just circumstances, something happens and we feel this guilt for it. Like, oh man, I really wanted to be there. I feel bad for not being able to be available, or I feel bad for what happened. And we have this guilt inside of us that kind of builds up. Um, and it's interesting. I mean, there are many things that happen in life um, where we blame ourselves for something that we had no control over. Um, and I've dealt with people before doing that, and I've definitely dealt with myself doing that before, quite a lot. I remember, especially in my youth, trying to reconvince myself over and over. It's like it wasn't my fault, it wasn't my fault, um, until I learned to let it go. But Joe, are you ready?
I think maybe.
I
I
think
actually
maybe.
posted. I actually posted the current topic.
What?
I did that.
Oh, you were
I'm
you were
getting better.
typing.
I'm yeah, so it can be up there in the corner now.
Uh-huh. Nice. Nice.
Hopefully
That's
it
good.
looks.
Good touch.
Hopefully it looks good. I'm learning this production game. But yeah, this is a really good question. And back a breaker. I I so much appreciate you having the guts to ask this, because this,
Sure.
we go through times in our lives where, just sometimes things happen. Bad things happen, and maybe we have nothing to do with it, but we still, feel some level of responsibility. We still feel somewhat guilty of it. And it can be really tough to deal with. So I know I've mentioned this on previous streams, and sometimes we just have to work through logic. I've heard we make decisions with our emotions. Like, we decide to move and make decisions with our emotions. But then when it's time to continue in an area or in a direction or whatever, then we can pull logic out on ourselves, right? And in this case, it helps to pull out a little bit of logic. And I'm just gonna go through this one little thing, and that is we have our circle of concern, we have our circle of influence. Those are the two circles we deal with on a day-to-day basis throughout our lives. And the circle of concern, that's all the things that we are concerned about, all the things that grab our attention and make us maybe uneasy, or make us, I don't know, the cares that we have in the world. And then we have our circle of influence, which are the things that we can actually do something about. And we kind of went through a little bit of this in our meeting before we got here. We were talking about all the different projects that we have going on at Black Static and Swerve. And that is, there comes a point in a lot of these projects where it's like we can't do anything else. And then we're waiting for somebody else to do something, right? Or like I gave the example last week of, if I need to have a conversation with somebody about a certain thing, all I can do is call them. And then they have to either answer the phone and then we can talk, or they have to call me back or whatever. So, but really it takes this there's a question I ask myself, a couple of them actually. One is, have I done everything that I can do in this situation? I will reflect on a situation. I'll reflect on maybe this situation or that I'm feeling bad about. I'll think about it and I'll be like, okay, did I do the best I could with the knowledge that I had? Was I involved in any way? Like, how was I involved? Was there anything I could have done? And usually the answer is, well, I could have done more, but with the knowledge I had at the time, with the ability I had at the time, well, I did about the best I could with that knowledge, or in that position, right? Because sometimes we're not in a position to influence a situation. So there comes a point where we just have to remind ourselves, hey, I did what I could. I did the best I could. And outside of that, I remember a guy saying one time, well, did you do your best? And he was asking his daughter this question. She had failed a test or whatever, and he was like, well, did you do your best on this test? And she said, well, yeah, I tried my hardest. I studied real hard. I did everything I possibly could. He said, well, then angels could do more, do no more. Angels could do no more than that. And they're angels. Like, they have a lot more power than we do. And so the point of the whole thing was like, okay, at some point, we do have to remind ourselves that it's okay to let go. So how do we release guilt when it wasn't your fault? And you say, I was the only one who wasn't there at a family member passing. It wasn't my fault for missing, but deep down I still hold guilt for not being there. And in this situation, it's real easy to feel guilty because that's a big moment. That's an important moment. And yeah, a lot of times in those situations, what I would recommend doing is turning to prayer. I don't know if you're the prayerful type of person. And if you are, then that's the direction I would go in. If not, I would go toward meditation, and just kind of silencing the noise in your head, and just continue to remind yourself, that, hey, yeah, that was hard. I did the best I could with the knowledge I had, with the opportunities I had at the time. And once you're to that point, angels can do no more than that. And it can be a really tough draw, and it might take some time. Might take some time of reminding yourself to think this way. But those are the things that I have to remind myself of when I'm in those situations. So hopefully that helps and gets us a little bit started. And I can't wait to hear what Ryan has to say about this topic. So Ryan,
Yeah.
take it away.
Thanks, Joe. Yeah, it is an interesting thing. It's funny that we can feel guilt for something that we're not responsible for, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to tell you a couple of things. First of all, it's okay. It's okay to feel guilt. It's important to look at the logic and go, oh, wait, that wasn't my fault. But it's okay to feel sorrow, right?
Mm-hmm.
The human heart doesn't enjoy sorrow. That's part of the construct of that's what sorrow is, right? It's this bad feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But we call it bad because we don't like it. It's okay not to like it. It is what it is. And in fact, you should consider it a blessing. What I'm saying is this. When your heart aches for someone or for a situation, your heart is telling you that there's value there.
Mm.
Your heart is showing you, hey, this is important, right? So be thankful that your heart can understand that and it can feel that, right? It's okay to feel guilt. It's okay to have sorrow. It's okay to be in that spot, right? It's just a feeling, right? And feelings, they're fleeting. They come and they go. Sometimes we don't even have control. They just come and we're like, please stop, please stop, please stop. And then a while later they'll go away when we stop thinking about them or whatever. And sometimes feelings are like, oh wow, this is a wonderful feeling. I hope this stays forever. But it doesn't. Feelings are fleeting. Emotions are fleeting.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a beautiful thing. That's okay that that's that way. We take each moment as it is, and all we can do is live that moment with our virtue, with hope, and with good intentions. I think it's important to remember that your intentions were good, right? It was no fault of your own. You had no ill intentions, so there's that, and that is important, right? And then one last thing I kind of want to remind you of is that guilt can be the devil's playground.
Mm.
What I mean by that is when we feel guilt, it can be a good thing. It can point us in the right direction. It can point us into do something better next time or do something good. It can help us to reform ourselves. But sometimes we sit there in the guilt and we sulk and we hurt ourselves on purpose over and over and over.
Mm-hmm.
We absorb that feeling and we just sit in it and we love it, right? It's part of what, it's kind of like one of the concepts behind when the darkness comes, right? When the darkness comes, don't betray yourself. Don't betray yourself for it. Because the darkness isn't out to do us well.
Mm.
You know, so many times we feel that darkness. And even though we want to get out, we also are like, no, but I deserve to be here. I should be here. And I'm going to sit in this darkness until everything pays off for sitting in the darkness. But it never pays off. It's weird, right? We can sit in the darkness all day long and be like, something will justify this. Something will make the fact that I sat here in the darkness okay. And in a way it is, because through suffering, we grow. Through suffering, we obtain endurance. Through suffering, we can show our love, right? We can show our compassion. And that is what your guilt is for, right? Your guilt here is to show compassion, it's to show love, it's to show value. And that's a good thing. But there comes a point where the guilt becomes the devil's playground, where we are basically just going to get worse and worse and worse from that moment. We are no longer going to improve by sitting in the guilt. The only thing we can do by sitting in the guilt any further, right? Because we've already worked it out in our heads. Okay, what can I do next time? What, we've already logicked it all out. And then we aren't moving on, right? At that point, it can be just the only purpose of that guilt is to make us feel bad. The only purpose of that guilt is to hold us back from moving forward, to hold us back from being happy, right? And at that point, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's there, but stop thinking about it, kind of thing. So there's only so much we can do necessarily to impact our emotions, but one of the best things you can do to impact your emotions is take action. Action can change the way you feel. So if someone comes up to you, right, and they're a bully, right, and they say something mean to you about your nose, right? I'll just make an example. I don't know. By the way, I have no idea what your nose looks like. I'm just giving a random example. So they come up to you and they say, oh, you have a big nose, and you're like offended by it, right? Sure. That's a fine response. You can be offended by it. But in that offense, if you take a moment and breathe and say, okay, what am I going to do about the fact that they just offended me? I can lash out. I can be angry and I can lash out. I can be angry and laugh with them instead. I can be angry and I can just walk away. All of those are different things. I can tell you this. If you just walk away, you're still going to be angry.
Mm.
If you lash out, you're still going to be angry.
Mm-hmm.
But if you laugh with them, suddenly that anger will dissipate. You'll notice it didn't actually matter if they thought you had a big nose or not. It was just like, hey, who cares? What a silly remark, right? And if you laugh at them, it makes their day better and it makes your day better. And I know that that's not necessarily the only route, right? There's obviously many routes. If someone offends you, you can choose not to take offense, right? It's a choice. But at the same time, there is that initial emotion. But when you take action that contradicts that emotion, suddenly your emotion shifts. It might be your birthday and you didn't get cake and you might be sad. You might feel like left out. You might feel like people weren't thinking about you, It's your birthday. It's like people don't care about me. People forgot my birthday. People don't care about me at all.
I was supposed to have cake.
Yeah, I was supposed to have cake. Right? And you can feel down and out about that all day long. And you can feel all down and out about that all month long if you want. Right? But if you take action just to call people up on your birthday instead and say, hey, how's it going? And just chill with them, enjoy yourself, and even just make mention, oh yeah, hey, actually today's my birthday. They'll be like, "Oh my gosh, today's your birthday. Hey, happy birthday. I'm so sorry. I didn't even think about that. I didn't even, what day is it?" You know?
It's
Suddenly your
it's
day,
Wednesday, man.
Wednesday,
My
suddenly your
birthday's
day.
Wednesday.
That's right. Don't worry, Wednesday. Don't worry. It's your birthday. Um, don't worry. It's your birthday. All right. Anyways, it's so dumb.
That's all
Anyways, my
right. We're all
point
nerds
is,
here, right?
and I mean, even just when you're sad, if you go into the bathroom, look in the mirror, and you just choose to smile, simple as that. Or you don't even have to go in front of the mirror. You know, you're having a bad day. You know, you go, wait a minute, I'm having a bad day. But every moment is a new moment, and my life doesn't. I don't have to be down just because the last moment wasn't good. What's coming forward is going to be determined by my attitude. So why don't I just fix my attitude right here, right now? You know, a lot of people say, you know, tomorrow's a new day. The sun will come up tomorrow, right? You know, you'll go to bed and you'll wake up tomorrow and it's going to be a brand new day. For me, I think that's a bit too slow. Right now is the time. Just as soon as you realize, hey, today's not going great, but my attitude can change. And that might make my day go right. So every moment is a new moment. Who cares about the last 4 moments? It's a new moment right now. How about we go into it being smiling and happy, right? Here's the thing. If we just smile, right? We're having a bad day. We just smile anyways, in spite of it all. Suddenly we have a better attitude. Suddenly we feel good. And that's an action. So my whole point of this is, if you feel guilt, take action that contradicts that guilt. Smile. Think about the person and be joyful about those memories which you have. Be joyful about the family and the closeness and the love that you guys share. Be joyful that your heart aches, but let that be released and continue on with your life. Be joyful for, I don't know your religion, so I mean, you have, depending on that, you have many things to be joyful about, but to just take a moment, take a breather, take a step back, and then just smile and walk it off. I think sometimes we need to not get so caught up in the moment, but look at the bigger picture, that life is still continuing on. And we make of life what we put into it. And if we put into life our smile, we're going to get smiles back. If you ever walked into a rest area or like a gas station, or walked through a store, and someone just smiles at you and you just smile back, or you smile at somebody and they just instinctively smile back. I don't know if you've never done this. I would recommend you go into a store next time you're in a store or whatever. You just see a random stranger, give him like, just smile at him, see what happens. You'll be surprised at how many people just smile at random people. You'll be surprised at how many people smile back. Not everyone will, but a lot of people will. You smile at them genuinely, you'll be like, hey, they'll go, oh, hi.
What's really funny is the people that catch themselves almost automatically smiling back and then making themselves not smile.
Yeah, that is funny. They have that instinct to, like, because it is true. Like, I've totally seen it. They're like, it's like, what did you just do with your face? That was just more weird than you could have just let it go, dude. Just let it come out. It's all right. You look less weird. They almost get to a full smile and they're like, I'm having a terrible day. Like, oh yeah, you just brought yourself back down off of that cloud. Good job. But anyways, yeah, I would recommend taking action, choosing to smile, put out into the world what you want to receive. If people say, give happy, get happy, or whatever that is, I can't remember.
Yeah, in order to be happy, you need to give happy.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. And it is relatively true. It's because your attitude is how you're going to feel. How you look at the world is how you're going to feel living inside of it. And how you look at yourself is also going to be how you'll feel living as yourself. So it's important to think about those things and get those under control. Sometimes you just have to choose your attitude instead of let the world decide it for you. Because if you let the world decide it for you, here's the thing. The world's not necessarily looking out for you. The world's not looking out for, how happy you are.
Mm.
That would be great. But the truth is the world's looking out for itself
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who look out for you, right? There are people who are loving. I mean, we have Black Static and Swerve. We have this amazing community here that do look after people.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the world, if you just rely on them, if you decide, you know what, I'll let nature decide how happy I am. Good luck with that. Nature is cruel.
Yeah.
Nature is cruel. We are against nature. It's not like humans are bad for nature. In fact, we've helped nature more than any animal on Earth. We've helped it flourish and grow more than any animal. We've helped species survive. Of course, we've eliminated a few too, but we've also helped some survive that shouldn't be alive today. So here's the thing. My point isn't like environmentalist. My point is, if you just let the world decide for you how you're going to feel, it's not a good way to go about your life. It's more important to decide how you want to feel and then attempt to get there through your actions and through your just inner workings. And then let that decide how your life goes from there on. But anyways, I talked for quite a while, like 20 minutes or something. I don't know. But yeah.
No, I don't think you I think between you and I both, it was about that long.
Okay, well, an hour. Okay. So.
Whoa.
A Green Machine, have a good one. All right. Go for it, Joe. Do you have anything else you want to add to it?
I did, because you brought something up that was really, really important, I think, because regardless of how we got a guilty feeling, and regardless of whether we had anything to do with it, and regardless of how we might let go of it, guilt, like Ryan was saying, it's a feeling that can be used for good or bad, right? He said guilt can be the devil's playground. It totally can be, because it can demoralize us and make us want to do nothing and make us feel worthless and make us feel just down in the dumps and, depressed. And it can make us go, in this downward spiral. Guilt can certainly have that effect on us. But guilt can also spur us to good action as well. It can spur us to do something right. It can, when I do something wrong and I feel guilty for it, it can spur me into action to make amends for that wrong action. In a case where it's not my fault at all and I feel guilty about it, it can still spur some correct action. So, for instance, we came across some recent news in my family that was really, really important and really, really tough to deal with, right? I'm not going to get into a bunch of details, but I will tell you this. It did make me feel guilty. Now, it's totally, I had nothing to do with it at all. It's just a thing that happened that's hard to deal with and bad, right? It's just a tough situation. But what it made me do inside was it made me feel guilty for time that I had wasted throughout my life. And so, because of that guilt, it has spurred me into action in a lot of different areas. And it spurred me, most importantly, today, as I was journaling, I was writing in there and I was like, you know what? I've never really asked myself this on a regular basis. But I'm resolving to start asking myself this on a regular basis. And that is, am I at my best right now? Am I at my best? Am I doing the best I can right now? Or am I just kind of slouching? Because really, life is short. We don't know the amount of time we have. We don't know what we're supposed to do necessarily all the time. We're still trying to figure all that out a lot of times, right? But really the key, I can't afford to not be at my best. in all areas, whether it's being a husband or a father or working my job as a property inspector or doing music production at Black Static and Swerve or working on this live stream or whatever it is. I can't afford to not be at my best. So I regularly now ask myself this question: am I doing my best at what I'm doing right now, regardless of what it is? If it's family time, am I doing the best I can to be a good dad to my 2 sons? Am I doing the best I can while I'm mixing a song, like the drum set or whatever? Am I at my best? And so really, that question right there, it brings value to that guilty feeling. Like that guilty feeling now has a purpose to spur something that was greater than existed before. So I love what you were getting at, Ryan, because yes, it is appropriate to feel sorrow. And you're right. Since we don't like it, we label it as bad. But those feelings that we don't like, it's those feelings that we use to create some of the greatest things that we create. Many of us. I mean, I've talked many times about artists and how, as a musician, I take really difficult experiences and tough times and challenging times, and I've been able to channel the energy from that time and create some of the best songs that I've ever written. As I look back over the years, I'm like, okay, that song was a great song. I wrote it when I was losing my house. That song was a great song. I wrote it in that, few month period after I had broken up with my girlfriend that I'd been with for 3 years, and it was really, really painful breakup. And I was like, yeah, some of the best songs I've written have been in those moments of incredible turmoil emotionally. And this is no different. We can take those negative feelings, those bad feelings, the ones that we don't like, and we can use them to create something beautiful. Even if it's just asking ourselves the question, am I at my best right now? Because through that, I feel like if I'm at my best for an hour, that's a pretty good hour. I did a pretty good job. If I line up a whole bunch of hours like that, that could be a pretty good day. And then if I continue to focus there, I bet you I can have a pretty good month, pretty good year. And however long I have left, I could have, a pretty good time doing it. I could maybe get some good stuff done. So Black Eye Fat Lip says, my singing improves when I'm in a state similar to sorrow. It's true. We tend to perform when we're under that stress of feeling that we don't like. It can be really, really amazing. But we have to use it in that direction rather than allowing the devil to make his playground in our feelings that we don't like. Because then we just do nothing and we get worse, right? And that doesn't help anybody. But if we can turn it to the good, man, awesome things can happen. So Ryan, I just wanted to I wanted to put that on there because you got me thinking about all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, no, that's really
appreciate
good.
that.
It's really powerful too. I mean, the notion of am I at my best right now? I remember thinking that a lot, and I think back to those days, like, yeah, those are the best days of my life, right there. When I was constantly thinking, like, when I was constantly measuring myself up to what I considered the best version of myself, and reflecting on those days, and yeah, I don't know. There was so much more. I guess, I was getting more done. I was feeling better. I was happy about, everything, who I was and other people around me. I had good influence around the people, and the people around me. And yeah, it was just, that feeling of like when you're like, I don't know, that feeling of when you're in your own skin, or that you feel like yourself kind of feeling. I think a lot of people say like, oh, when you feel like you feel yourself, that's what they're talking about. It's that moment when you identify, okay, what's the best me that I could be right now, and you choose to do those things, and it invigorates you, it vitalizes you, it fills you with life. You know what I'm saying? I think that's super important, and so I'm really glad you talked about that, because it's revitalizing. Um, makes you thrive
Mm-hmm.
better.
Can wake you
But
up.
anyways, yeah,
Makes you
Yep.
feel like you're driven with purpose.
yeah.
Black
Black
Eye
Eyed Phillips just copying songs that some random dude wrote.
What?
Um,
What?
He's about to say, you're thriven when you're driven. Um,
It's all
Great,
right.
dude. I love
That's
you.
a great song.
I actually completely forgot about it until
And if
he brought it
so
back up to me
how-
the other day. And I'm like, oh yeah, oh my gosh, I forgot about that one.
How does Black Eye Fatlip know about that song? Because that
Wikipedia.
was. He's been to the fan wiki.
Wiki.vss.
The wiki.
Yeah, the fan
Okay.
wiki. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah, and that's because of
That makes
Sunnily.
sense.
Sunnily got a hold of the material. He bought the CDs and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, Sunnily's awesome.
All that, man, amazing. Wrote down the lyrics because I could. Good job. Nice.
Yeah.
Uh,
All right. Well, thank you so much for the topic. That was a good one, and I hope that we did it justice. It's one of those things, like, you're dealing with an emotion, and it's a mysterious thing. It's a
mhm.
mysterious thing, all we can do is attempt to help you make something better of it, make something positive of it. Because sometimes you don't, like I said, you don't have a whole lot of control, but you can try. Sometimes it's a matter of doing an action or whatever. But the thing is, one thing you can always do is try to look at what you have and make something great out of it.
Mhm.
And so when you have guilt, and it seems like, hey, I'm not even responsible, but I feel guilt. Just make something good out of it.
Mhm.
At the least, even if it sticks around, make something, because then it's worth something,
Mhm.
and it's not just damaging.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you. Definitely worth waiting one more week. Awesome. Yeah.
Thank you for the topic. Wow.
Mm-hmm. All right. Love you, man. On to the next one. Again, if you're here and you have a topic, put your name down in the chat. Write your own name. But I guess next would be Black Eye. So let's do it. Joe's sneakily trying to get his link in there.
Huh?
But
Princess is gonna win.
Princess got it.
Princess won. I'm not even gonna
All
try.
right.
I'm not
You're
even
not even
gonna
gonna
try.
All right.
Come on, Joe. Give it a shot.
Dude,
Fine.
you got this.
Fine.
You
fine,
got this.
Fine.
You got
Fine.
this,
Fine.
man.
Fine. There. Ha.
Ha. Oh, what now?
Oh,
no.
boom. Got it.
That's good. That's real good. So this one is from Black Eye. It's titled Mimicking. Wait, let me double. Yep. Mimicking to Creating. That's the topic. That's the title of this topic. That's an interesting title. I'm kind of excited to see what this is about. So I'm going to let Princess do the honors of reading it for you guys.
I've been working slowly over time to improve my ability to copy what I see when I draw and create, but I have trouble making things originally. I don't know if it's just that I'm a very data-driven person, or if it's that I don't try and diverge too much. I guess I could summarize the question in a sentence as, how do I make the leap from copying to creating? I think that it would be better to be able to put more of my fingerprint, but I'm not sure how to do that. It took me way too long to do some of my pieces because I was afraid of copying, so I'd like to get that mental block out of the way. From Black Guy.
Wow, that's an interesting topic.
Mhm.
I have a little bit of experience in this. I wonder if Joe might have some as well. But yeah, it's an interesting thing because obviously you don't want to plagiarize, but not only do you not want to plagiarize, you want your own touch to it. You want to give your gift to the world. you know, and you do that by putting you into it. So it comes to a point of like, okay, I've learned skills from copying others and things like that, and that's super good and super important. How do I take the next step from you know, uh, being someone who's copying something that I see which is good to creating something that is good? And it's a mysterious thing, just creating in general, because sometimes, actually many times, I'll say most times, it's almost like it's not really us in control. Um, you know, there was a song, I can't remember how the song went, but the song acknowledges the idea that, you know, it's not really me writing this song. It feels like it's not me writing this song. Um, it just comes to me from somewhere out there, and who knows. Um, but I want to say that the thing is that, um, you know, it's good. It's good to copy, because here's the thing: things that are successful for a reason. And when we can copy those things, that means we can have a chance at being successful. We can take those things which are good and emulate them, right? When I write a song, it's no new thing to put three notes that harmonize with each other together and call it a chord. I mean, it's been around for millennia. What's the word? Not centuries. It's even more centuries. What do you call it when it's thousands? Thousands and
Millennia.
thousands of years. Huh? It is millennia?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I was right then with my first thought.
A
Been around for
millennia is
millennia.
not a million years. We think in terms of
Yeah,
that,
we
but
think
it's
of
actually
millennia as million, but it's
eons might be millions of years.
eons. There you go. Yeah. No, the concept, I mean, we're borrowing everything from the world around us. We're borrowing every idea that we have by taking two things and putting them together. You know, we understand physics. The people who have their name on physical formulas didn't create physics. They didn't create what exists. They just labeled it. They just figured it out and labeled it. When you make a picture, you're putting, you know, ink to paper or pencil or whatever, you know, maybe you're doing it on a device, right? But you're not inventing the concept of drawing. You're borrowing from everything. You're borrowing from the imagery around you. You're drawing people. You didn't make people up. You didn't, you know, you didn't make the idea of any creature that you create. A lot of times when we create our own creatures, we're like, well, it's got to have feet. Oh, you took that from something, didn't you? I bet you something else out in the world has feet, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah, pretty much every creature has feet. Oh, it's got a face? Oh, you just stole that one right from God, didn't you? Lots of things have faces. So what I'm trying to say is it's okay to copy. But I'm going to give it over to Joe and see what he's got to say about this topic. I was trying to give you time and I kind of went off on tangent zone, but
No, I really appreciate that. Do you remember? Okay, so your question, Black Eye, is about visual art, like drawing and stuff like that. I can relate this through music, as a musician. And one thing, Ryan, who did that YouTube video, the 4-chord song?
Oh, that's Axis of
Awesome. Axis of
Awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of language in there, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, but the point of it is like, okay, they take these same 4 chords, the same progression, and they sing all these songs that have used that same chord progression. And it's like the chord progression that makes hit singles. Like, seriously, like so many songs use the same 4 chord progression, right? And I could remember sitting there thinking, as I was learning how to play guitar, and I was playing, I learned how to play guitar by getting a book of Led Zeppelin songs, because that's who I liked at the time, you know. And Vanilla Ice versus Queen. So, but yeah, you're right. But in Vanilla Ice's case, he took a sample from a Queen song. I think was it the Queen song Under Pressure?
No pressure.
Or so, Ding 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 ding
Ding,
ding
ding, ding,
ding
ding,
ding.
ding, ding. Yeah, that.
Ding 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 ding, and made a totally different song. Yep, Queen came first, Vanilla Ice followed up. Yep, but in those cases, like he took an actual song and an actual recording and put it in his own recording, right? Like these people just like they play the same four chords, for everything. So they're actually still playing the instruments, right? But so you have copyright laws to deal with and all that kind of stuff. But you can take something that's already been created and make something original out of it. In fact, a lot of producers, people who produce music that is that are mainstream hits and everything like that, they talk about if it doesn't have some kind of an element that's derived from something that came before, it's not usable. Mainstream hit music doesn't have, like, you find very little that's fully original in there, because mainstream hit music depends on the familiarity, so people can connect it to something in their brains, so it feels familiar and it makes them want to listen to it again and again and again and again. So what you do is you take something that's already familiar and you put your own little tweak, your own little spin on it, and then you have a new hit single, right? Like that's basically
what video game people do all
formula.
the time too.
Oh yeah, totally.
Video game producers, everything is just like, if it's a success, take it and just change one thing and make it a new game.
Yeah. I mean, look at Crossy Road. What is that? Frogger. It's totally Frogger. At a whole new level, right? And then there's Disney Crossy Road. And then there's all kinds of other Crossy Road, right? And then there was Flappy Bird or whatever, right? It's all kinds of stuff, right? But so when you create something absolutely original, like Ryan was talking about, you're still using elements of the universe that has already been created. There really is only one ultimate creator, and that's God. That's basically the creator of everything, who created everything from nothing. And that's the definition of God. A lot of people might get kind of hung up on, like, I remember there was this guy, this Russian cosmonaut, who's like, I went to outer space, I didn't see God, therefore God does not exist. And then there's other people who are like, God is some kind of spaghetti monster in outer space somewhere or whatever, right? But that's not what the definition of God is. The definition of God is the cause without a cause. Because you look at anything that exists, it has a cause. I exist because I have parents, right? And, this plushie exists because there was an idea in the brain of Static P. And from there, there was that idea he used something very familiar to him, I think, in order to kind of create the figure of this person, right? I mean, there are definite traits that I kind of see similar in somebody I know.
I didn't design the character. Someone else did, but they used traits of a person that I've seen before.
Right. But at any rate, so then, but there are fabrics here, right? And there's stuffing, and there's thread, and there's all these things that were already created that were then used in a certain combination to create this plushie, right? And it's a beautiful plushie. And you can get one at bss.studio. There's my little plug.
You should.
But at any rate, so here's the thing. So when I talk about what God is, It's when you take all those things that exist, and you go, okay, well, that was caused by this, that was caused by this, that was caused by this, da 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 da, and back and back and back and back and back. And then you get to a point where it's like, okay, like at some point there was nothing and then there was something. Well, that's where God fits in. He's the cause that had no cause that came before it, right? And so all of us, when I create music, I've heard it said, it's a beautiful thing. Somebody said one time, all music already exists. The only thing that musicians and creators of music, composers do, all they do is they uncover the music that already exists in the universe. And I love that. Because anybody who's doing any kind of an art form, it's the same thing. I remember Michelangelo talking about, he was talking about some kind of, one of his many, many sculptures that he did. It might have been David, I'm not sure. But at any rate, somebody asked him, like, how did you create that? He's like, well, it was already there. All I did was chip off the stuff that wasn't David.
Yeah, because he's carving it into a rock. So the rock was already there. He was just chipping away at the parts that weren't.
Right.
Yeah.
David was in the rock. He was like, I just took off the parts that didn't belong there. Right. And that's kind of what we do. So no matter what, like we can kind of get puffed up and think I'm so super creative and amazing and all that kind of stuff. But really, I'm just using what already exists and kind of uncovering something that maybe nobody else has heard before or seen before. And even if you're copying, like, okay, so you look at a picture and you draw that picture, you might consider that copying. But even still, it's going to have a little bit of you in there. There's going to be a little bit of a style difference that's you, that is unique to you, that no one else has. And from there, so I'm going to come full circle. I started playing guitar by playing out of a Led Zeppelin chord book. And it wasn't long before I started to notice some patterns in chord progressions. And then I started to experiment with those chord progressions. And really, I think that's the key to making the leap from copying or being a learner of other people's material into creating your own or creating something that's unique to you. And that's experimentation. You just experiment. You try. You take what you already know. You take what you're doing right now and you build off that. You change direction a little bit. And you experiment in a certain direction. And then all of a sudden, now you've created something totally unique. You took something that existed and you created something unique. Vanilla Ice took Under Pressure from Queen and made Ice Ice Baby. That's amazing. I can't think of the Aqua. Aqua took the 4-chord song and made Barbie Girl.
Yeah, Aqua made Barbie Girl, dude. You got it. It's the only song we know by Aqua. It's how we know their name.
Right.
Well played.
So it's amazing. So I would say that's how you make that leap. How do you make the leap from copying to creating? Experimentation. You will always be copying to some degree. Whatever it is that we're doing, we're always getting inspired from other people. We're always taking techniques from other people. We're learning how people do things. And then when you take that knowledge from that copying and then start experimenting, now you're fully into that creating mode, right? So that's probably what I would say. So anyway, Ryan, I'm going to hand it back over to you.
All right. Yeah. I think that was yeah, that's so true. Um, so on that note, I guess I'll just kind of tell my story. I started writing music. Now, obviously, this is music, not art. I've also did a lot of art as well, but I started writing music when I was 8 years old. You imagine an 8-year-old who doesn't know what he's doing, right? That's kind of the point. You don't know what you're doing, right? I remember a lot of people being impressed that I could write music, but it was only because I spent time at the piano and was like, what does this sound like? Okay, let's hit this note over and over and over and over. All right, when I do that, I'm gonna hit another note over here. Does that sound good? Nope. Does that sound good? Oh yeah, that kind of sounds good. All right, what about this one? Nope. All right, what about this one? Oh yeah, that sounds good. All right, so if I play these two, oh here we go. This sounds cool. Dun 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 dun. Oh, but it matches like the bass note. That's pretty cool. So, like, that's kind of like how I started, right? I learned a couple of chords from other people. My mom taught me, some chords, and she said, you put 3 fingers down, your thumb, your middle, and your pinky on the piano like this. And I was like, okay, that sounds cool. And I went up the scale doing that. I'm like, some of these sound terrible, but some of them sound really good.
Yes.
Because of the way that keys
That's
work.
true. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I wrote an entire song where everything was just chords. It went dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Boom.
I love that song.
That was my
that
first song.
That's my favorite
It was
song.
all chords, just chording the whole thing. All right. That's how you create. You just mess around until you discover something that you like. When it comes to art, you know, I started drawing my own art or whatever, and it was mostly based off of what I saw other people doing, right? I developed a new way to draw feet. I remember when I first started drawing, I figured out if you draw an 8 sideways, which is the infinity sign, they can be shoes. You just put 2 lines on top of them, and then it looks like someone wearing baggy pants. So you draw an infinity, and then you draw 2 lines coming off the edge of them that go straight up to where the hip should be, and then a line in the middle where the infinity sign connects. And it's like, wow, there you go. That's a man in baggy pants. And then I drew the rest of it, and it was, the best I could do. But then I could take that image. Yeah. And then I could take that image and I could do many things with it. I'm like, okay, I want him in this position. The feet would always be the same no matter what, but I could do the hands or arms differently, or I could do his face differently, right? And so it's just mix and match different ideas and putting them together. It's all about experimenting. It's all about, I have an idea, let's see how well I can do it. And then you might try it over and over and over until your idea is something that you like. Boom.
You're not lying.
You are welcome. I figured that out when I was like 6. I was like, man, this is so cool. Like, and I was showing other people and they're like, I could draw better than that. And I was like, yeah. And then they could. I was like, dang it. Oh, well, whatever. But anyways, so it's all about, like I said, you maybe you come up with an idea and then you execute it and you try it over and over and over until you like the outcome of it. When I write a song, I write it multiple times. I write sections and then I tweak the sections until it comes into my liking. Same thing with my art. I'm not an artist, but when I used to make art, or when I choose to, even current day, I have an idea and I'm like, okay, sometimes I don't even necessarily have a good idea. I'm just like, it's super bland. I don't even know what to do. It's a background. It doesn't really matter. Let's just try to throw some blue paint up there. All right, now let's throw some stripes. Okay, the stripes don't look good on that. All right, oh, maybe they do. Let me do thinner stripes. Oh, okay, I kind of like that. And it's just messing around. Other times it's, oh, I have a very specific idea. I want to make this person who's holding a glass with water in it, And so then I attempt to make that picture, right? And the first time it might not come out pleasing to my eyes. So then I tweak things. I erase parts and I mess with them. I change them until I get something that I like. A lot of artists, what they do is they create a sketch of what they think. They, do a quick mock-up, a sketch of like, okay, maybe I'll have them in this position. I'll try this. And Does that look proportionate? Does that look right to my eye? This sketch version? Nope. That arm needs to be longer. It's disproportionate. So then they take it and they just slide it over and then insert the rest of the arm in because it's digital. Or if they do it on paper, they use their eraser and draw it longer, right? And they just tweak it until their sketch is what they like. And then they start the line art. It saves the process of creating a whole picture and throwing it away and creating a whole nother picture that's like almost identical. So you just throw up your sketch. You create a couple of different sketches until you realize, hey, I actually really like this. I'm attracted to this. This is something that's appealing to me. It's pleasing to my eyes. Let's take it and go on to the next step now. So that's what I would say is if you're trying to get into creating, understand it's about trying things, experimenting, sometimes over and over and over until you like it. Sometimes it could be first try, and sometimes it might be 99th try. But all you can do is try until you like it, until it's something that you're proud of, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I got. I hope that's helpful. Like anything, you just got to start, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of like, that's how you start. That's the idea of it. But Joe, did you have anything you want to add on to that?
I do actually. And I love where you're going. One thing I wanted to make sure that you understand is that there's value in copying. There's a lot of value in it, actually. I have a little statue that I got as a gift from Ryan. From Kyle and Diana. Were you in on that gift too? The statue?
I think so. Yes.
Joseph,
Yep.
Mary, and Jesus, right? There's like this. Yeah. There's this little statue that I had seen the same thing over at Ryan's brother and sister-in-law's house, and it just really struck me because it's like this moment where kind of Joseph has his arms around Mary, Mary has her arms around Jesus, and it's like there's this like family, feel to the whole thing, right? And apparently this is I think it's called A Quiet Moment, and I forget.
That might be right. That sounds really familiar. I can't remember the name of it, but that sounds super familiar.
Yeah, I forget who the artist is, but there's like a full like life-size big huge sculpture of this somewhere, right? I don't remember where. If Jeff was here in the chat, he'd be able to tell us, because he's the fact finder, right? But at any rate, so there's this statue somebody created called A Quiet Moment, and now there are all these renditions of it out there in various sizes and various different, it's always funny, like Joseph always looks like this giant.
Yeah, he does.
Right.
Massive. Yeah. It was A Quiet Moment.
And then there's like
Timothy P. Schmalz.
Okay.
I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
Okay, gotcha. So at any rate, but here's the thing. Some people, their job is creating copies of stuff that exists. You get a hand-painted rendition of a classic painting. There was an artist who copied that painting, so then it could be, so then you could have a copy of it, right? There was a person that their job was making copies of that sculpture, so I could have one sitting in my room that can be a great reminder for me of, how I'm supposed to be as a father, all kinds of stuff, like all kinds of thoughts come to mind when I look at that, right? So, yeah, you're right. He does look like a giant. So, but at any rate, where was I going? So here's the value. In copying other people's work, here's what happens. You develop skill. When I was learning to play drums, I would put my headphones on and I would listen to some of my favorite music. I would put their CDs or tapes, whatever era it was that I was learning. I started off with cassette tapes, and then moved on to CDs. And I would put my headphones on and I would try to play exactly what they played, what that drummer played in those songs. And it was fun because I enjoyed listening to those songs. But then I would try and play. And so the interesting thing was, that's how I became skilled at drumming, was by copying other drummers. And you get to that point where you get so good at copying, and then all of a sudden you find yourself in a cover band where you dress up and put a wig on your head and, flail about, and then you're making money. You go out every weekend, and play a show where you're playing other people's songs and you're making, a couple $100 every weekend. And it's like, hey, this isn't too bad, right? A little bit of extra money. I get to go out and have a good time. I get to sweat, and then I get to carry my drums around, which is kind of a pain in the butt. But oh well.
Yeah.
Because, you don't have a road crew when you're just, gigging the local circuit. You carry your own equipment. But that's where you develop skill. When you're copying other people's stuff, when you're learning from other people, that's what's happening. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And one of the things that's really, really amazing is then as you grow and you start experimenting and then you start putting stuff out there, then all of a sudden you start to hear about people playing your songs that you did some experimenting, like Ryan and I were talking about, where you tried some new stuff. You just tried some stuff and you came up with a song, or in my case, it was a song, right? So I came up with this song. This was very interesting to me. I was like 18 or 19, 18, when I wrote a song for the band I was in, and we played it. And my brother was also in a band, and they would tour around, and they would play my song. They enjoyed it. They liked this one particular song I wrote. They enjoyed it so much that they played it. And they put their own little spin on it too, right?
That's cool.
Which was amazing. And so then, so when you go from copying other people's stuff and then you get that skill, you start developing that skill, and then all of a sudden now you start to experiment and you move into the realm of creating something, and then all of a sudden you start listening or watching other people copying your stuff. You start to realize how connected we all are. You start to realize that, the world is a lot smaller than we think. And, it's cool because we all have this connection. I find artists that I've never heard of on a weekly basis because on Spotify they have this Discover Weekly playlist that populates with stuff you never listened to before, right? And I'll find stuff all the time and I'll be like, oh man, and I'll listen to it and then I'm like, I want to try and figure out that drum beat. And so I'll put in my headphones. Still to this day, I've been drumming for 35 years, something like that. I've been playing drums for 35 years and I'm still putting on headphones and playing drums along with other people that are probably younger than me and copying them to learn what they know. It's really cool. So don't ever be ashamed of copying because it's a beautiful thing. But then when you're ready to make that leap into creating on your own, all that takes is experimenting and you're there. Mm-hmm. And then it's not long before you start creating and then making those creations public. That's a key thing. Make the creations public. And then all of a sudden you start to see people imitating you, copying off of you and thinking, they're developing their skill because of you. And so then in that way, you're paying it forward and you're helping other people too. It's a beautiful, beautiful connection we all share. So anyway, that's where I'm going to leave my part. Ryan, back to you. Back
yeah, I've
to
only
you.
got one thing to say.
Back to you, Bob.
All right. I just got one thing to say. And I was actually gonna say nothing, but Marshmallow asked a good question, so I'm gonna respond to it. They said, if you copy other people's stuff, you copy their skill. If you have their skill, then what sets you apart? I mean, there's plenty of people who don't even have to copy each other, and they are completely capable of playing what the other person is playing, no matter what they play. It's like, wow, they're that good. They will hear something the first time and be able to play it. Mm-hmm. And both of them can do it. And it's like, wow, you guys are incredible. What sets them apart is that they're different people. Mm-hmm. They'll be doing different things with their lives. They both can't be in the same place doing the same exact thing because their bodies would have to converge. It would be weird, and it doesn't even make sense with physics.
Yes, science says no.
Science says no. Science says no to two people being the same.
Right.
Their lives are going to be completely different.
Yeah, even if you clone somebody.
Yeah, even if you clone somebody, their life is going to be different than the person that they cloned. Mm-hmm. Their memories could even be the same, but their life will be different. Their starting point was different. The thing is,
SSN.
Science says no. BSS has become SSN. Oh, jeez. BSSSSN. Black Static and Swerve says science says no. BSSSSSN.
Science. That's our next live stream.
Yes, our next live stream. Welcome to BSSSSSN. Black Static and Swerve says science says no about fish having ring mail armor at birth. Science says no.
Science says
okay,
no.
So science says no. Anyways, yeah. So I mean, yeah, you can have an incredible amount of skill. Here's the thing: skills, talents. That's not what makes you a remarkable person. There are things that you can get better at, and that is wonderful, and you should, because those things become a gift to the world, right? Mm-hmm. Very, very beautiful thing. But no matter what, no matter how good you get, you're not going to be another person. That person is their own person. No matter what, no matter how good someone else gets, they're not going to be you. You get to be you, and you get to decide what you do with your skill. So that's a very, 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 very huge difference, even if their skill level is the same. But anyhow, that's what that is.
Hero says on this topic, the stigma that mentioning how one person's creation reminds you of another's is a negative thing is concerning to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I remember the first time, someone said, "Oh, you sound like this." At first it's like, "What? I want her to sound like myself," But it's an honor. I mean, when people say I sound like, I don't know, people have said I sound like some things like Panic at the Disco. That one was like surprising to me. I was like, here's the thing. I don't even listen to Panic at the Disco, but I do know they're well liked. So it's an honor. It's an honor that people would say that I sound like Panic at the Disco because Panic at the Disco is pretty successful. So super big thanks. Mm-hmm. Right.
And all you got to do is hang out with Jeff here at Black Static and Swerve a little bit, because he's been a DJ and been on the radio for like years and years and years, and like the guy knows music inside and out. So I'll like give him this new song that I'm working on, right? And I'll be like, "What do you think this is?" And he'll name like 4 bands. He's like, "Well, it's kind of like this and this and this and this combined with a little bit of this." And it's like, oh, dude.
Yeah. It's crazy impressive.
He's so good.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, yeah, no, that is a good question. A good point, Hero. It's totally fine if your stuff sounds like another person's. You should be honored, because they're recognizing someone who is a talent, and then saying that you own up to that. I think that's awesome. So, anyways, Princess, what's our clock? What's our elapsed time so far? Just out of curiosity. Thank you. All right, we've got time for more. You guys ready for the next one?
We actually started at 9.
Yes, we did, and that's
or
the weird
like
thing.
9:03 or something like that.
I don't necessarily even have to ask what. I could just look at the clock.
You
That
could
helps.
just look at the clock. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So
I know, surprise, on time, and it was all due to my countdown. 3, 2, 1, go.
yes, if it wasn't like that, we would have been 20 minutes more late. So we have among us Hero. Hero, you have a question that was posted in chat. It's a cool question, according to the one who's going to read it. And you might not even know you asked this question, but here it is. They titled this, Take Initiative or Let Be. That's the title of this. So it must be important if Princess snagged this one up. So I'm going to let Princess do the honors of reading it.
Wait. Hold on.
Okay, hold on.
Wait.
Emergency, hold on.
It
There.
isn't real until Joe has posted a link.
Okay, there we go.
Right.
It's just like nothing ever happened if it's not on Facebook.
That was a close one. That
Science
was a
says no.
super close
Princess.
one.
Science says
Oh,
no.
phew. Science says no.
Oh my god.
All right. Go for it.
This was actually from a different topic a while ago, but I don't remember which one.
Oh,
How do you
okay.
balance / differentiate between letting things go the way that they're going or taking action to change it when it's something that you need to take initiative on?
How do
this
you
was the
differentiate?
Interesting. How do you differentiate between letting things go or taking action in order to change something that you have the power to do so, or you need to be the one that decides to start? That is a good question, right? Thanks for reading that, Princess. It is an interesting thing because sometimes we don't know the answer to that and we just have to decide, right? But sometimes there are key elements of a situation that can help us to decide. So hopefully we can kind of figure what those are out together. I am interested in seeing what Joe has to say in reaction, because I think that a lot of times Joe has a good judgment on how to handle things and how to take initiative. Of everybody, of the people I know, Joe is definitely one of the best at taking initiative, taking action to do something. And sometimes that action is starting it, putting it out there, and then figuring out, okay, nope, I can just let this go and then let it be. And so anyways, again, I'm really interested to see what Joe has to say. Joe, are you ready for this question?
Ready or not? Here we go.
All right.
Like Potart, but nobody explains.
I
Wait,
think so.
Did you just Oh, I thought you froze there for a second. I was like, uh-oh. No.
No. I didn't.
Well,
It's so hard to stand still when you're trying, man.
It is. I know.
You can see yourself just moving micro inches.
This is a very interesting question, Hero. I really appreciate you asking. And Ryan, also, I appreciate you the kind words. My goodness, like I always strive to be someone who takes more action and tries more. And that's it's an honor that you would say that. But how do you differentiate between, like, how do you know the difference between something that I need to just let go of and something that I need to take action on to change? How do I know which is which? You know what, honestly, a lot of times I don't know. I just try hard. And it's I don't know how personal I want to get here. Get personal, man. Get it super personal. For instance, like Ryan was saying, we've had a lot of different things that we've made decisions on at Black Static and Swerve, and what are we going to do? Okay, so for instance, we've got Free for All Friday. Someone had mentioned, I noticed there was no Free for All Friday this past week. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason for everything. There's not always a good reason, but there's always a reason. In this case, for Free for All Friday, what we decided, we were at a meeting last week, and we were talking about all the things we have going on right now. We've got albums that are going to be coming out. We've got a bunch of stuff slated to come out in 2021. We've got season 2 of Criminal Idol. We've got the Instrumentals album that we're trying to wrap up and finish so it can be released on December 18th. So there's a lot happening right now. And so we had to make a decision. Okay, what things do we need to focus on and what things do we need to let go of for now? And Free for All Friday kind of ended up on the chopping block for now. That, we just, because of all the projects we have going on that are important to get finished, that are going to have an impact, with what we want to do as a company, that we decided to put that on hold for that. On December 18th, A Single Duel has an album that's coming out. That's the date that we have set for the release date. We're still in the mixing process on a few of the songs, but they're almost all ready for mastering, and we want to have everything ready to go by next Friday. And so, like, right now, it's it's like crunch time, basically, because we're trying to get a whole bunch of stuff done in a very short period of time. But anyway, so the question then, okay, how did we come to decide that? Well, one of the things I think that's super important is to think about your principles. There are principles that can guide your life, okay? So there are principles and there are priorities, right? So I think in terms of, okay, I try to prioritize my life: God, family, business. I try to do it in that order. Now, there have been a lot of times in my life when I have mixed up that order. I still mix up that order from time to time, right? And it's not necessarily because my time is spent. It's not wrong for me to spend time doing business, because doing business helps, support my family. And also the income helps support, the work of God in the church, because then I can contribute and all that kind of stuff, right? So all these things kind of feed into each other and play into each other. But then when you kind of have a clear vision of what your priorities are and what your principles are, it can really help guide you along these paths. Now, I struggle with this a lot, which is why when we were having this when we were trying to figure out what to hold on to, what to let go of for right now as a company at Black Static and Swerve, that's not a decision that I could make on my own. I mean, I kind of had some ideas, but I really, really needed to have other people weighing in on this. And part of it is I'm not the only person that owns Black Static and Swerve. There's a whole group of us, right? And so everybody's kind of got to get accounted for. Unless you skip the meeting, then you might forfeit your vote. Wink, wink. Not Ryan. Ryan's.
Yeah.
But anybody else who might be listening or watching that wasn't there.
Happens.
But so I take counsel from other people that I trust.
Mhm.
Right?
That's super good.
So when it comes to making decisions about the operations at Black Static and Swerve, I take counsel with Ryan, Steve, Jeff, Jesse, Kyle, Joe, and myself. Right? That's all. It's 7 of us, right?
There's 7, yeah.
That are kind of there making decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's kind of like the buck stops with that group. But I still ask other people that are outside that group about things too. There are times when I've asked Princess, hey, what should we do here? Because I trust her and I trust her judgment to make decisions that are going to be, like there are things that I don't know about. So I try and get counsel from people that would know more than me in these certain areas. Now from there, I have to understand something. I have to understand that I own my decisions. And I have to be willing to take responsibility for them. So, if I decide something, because, if we as a group decide something, it's kind of like all the group, right? We're all kind of responsible to each other. If it's a decision that I have to make, that I've been decided, okay, this is my area where I need to be running things and I need to make the decision here, I need to remember that I own the decision. So if I make the decision and it's wrong, I need to be comfortable with being wrong. Well, maybe comfortable is not the right word, but I need to remember that, okay, this is my responsibility. So if I do something that's wrong, I need to try and fix it and make it right. So that's kind of, where I'd steer you is, one, learn about your principles. What types of principles guide your life? What virtues do you live by? And what are your priorities? When you get that stuff in order, then it becomes a lot easier to look at a situation and be like, okay, this is not gonna matter at all. I don't have time to mess around with that. Okay. So I'm going to focus on this other stuff where it's actually going to have an impact and move things forward in these areas that I've decided are important. So once you get that, it gets a lot easier to kind of steer yourself in that direction. Then find people that you trust, that you can get some counsel from, that you can ask the question. And it's not always the people closest to us, interestingly enough. There are times when I ask people that I'm very close to about what they think of an idea, and they'll just automatically say it's a stupid idea. But they didn't take the time to actually look at it and consider the idea. They just had a knee-jerk response. And so I'm not going to necessarily give that opinion very much weight, because they didn't really do any looking into it. They just had this knee-jerk response. No, that's stupid. You're stupid for even thinking of it. It's all just stupid. And I'm going to be like, okay.
I've had that response before, and so I apologize.
Huh?
I said I've had that response before, where you have that knee jerk and you just say, no, I don't like it.
Oh.
And you just vocalize it. I've totally been there and totally done that.
Yeah, that's all right. It's interesting though, because the other thing too that I think helps me out a lot is that I try not to get myself attached to an idea too much. Unless it's one of those big, huge principle-centered things, like if it involves my marriage, or if it involves my relationship with God, or my relationship with my kids, something like that. There are things that I am loyal and I will stick to and I will not let go of because I know how important they are. But most things in my life, I've developed the ability to let go. And I'm continually developing the ability to let go. How many times, Ryan, have I come up with an idea in a meeting, and I've said, "Hey, what if we do this?" And then like you or Kyle or somebody says, "No, we can't do that because this," and then immediately, okay, on to something else.
Yeah, no, it happens all the time.
Yeah, because I come up with a
Constantly.
lot of ideas, and most of them are bad.
Yeah, but the good ones,
the good
make
ones
it work,
can
right?
be pretty good.
That's the way it goes.
Yep. And Sophia, you're so right. Ideas are so easy to get attached to. They feel so lovely. They do. And then we pet them, and they become our little, like, oh, you're my little pet. You're gorgeous. You're beautiful. And then you're naughty, and I take my naughty pet and I go, and that's when I blow it. Anyone who knows that movie reference.
I don't. That sounds like Adam Sandler, but I don't know it.
There's a similarity. It was a group of people from Saturday Night Live.
Well, there you go.
In a movie. But yeah, you're right. Ideas, we get so attached to them. And there has to come a point where we're able to let go of them. And be like, okay, for the betterment of where we're headed, I'm not emotionally tied to any idea. And that's what I stressed. When we reevaluated, we spent time at our meeting. You guys are getting all the inside scoop on some of this stuff. But we had this meeting where we reevaluated every project and every stream and everything that we were doing as a company. And we were like, there is nothing sacred. We're going to look at all of it, and we're going to determine, is this what's important for us right now to move things forward? And so then we started, and then even the meeting we were having to decide this, like that meeting also, we were like, is this something we need to do to keep moving forward, right? So we were like, let's just throw it all on the chopping block and see if it stands up. And you can do that with a lot of things, throw it on the chopping block. If I let go of this, how much of an impact would it have? Would it be a tremendous loss? Is there a lot of value here? And you can kind of evaluate things like that. But it gets a lot easier when you understand your priorities and your principles. And you also decide what virtues you're going to be living by. And that you're pursuing a life of virtue helps. We're never going to be perfect, but the pursuit of that helps just clarify things so much. And then you can make those decisions a lot easier. So anyway, hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. I'm going to turn it over to Ryan. Ryan?
All right.
Have at it.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. Thanks for doing the thorough explanation there, because I hope that helps a lot. I know that helps me. It's kind of an interesting thing. I'm pretty good at letting things go myself. That's my personality. Mm-hmm. I have that built into my personality. I don't like saying no to people who offer me things or ask me to do things. But as far as letting things go, it's not too hard for me. But as far as deciding whether I need to take action on something or let things go, again, just like Joe said, it comes down to priority. A lot of times you just take a moment and you sift through the ideas, you weigh the pros and cons, and then you make a decision and you stick to it, right? That decision might be to let it go. That decision might be to take action. But either way, you go with it, and then you test it out and you go, okay, you know what? Nah, I should have just let it go. I'm going to let it go now. There are times where that's going to be the case. As far as relationships go, though, since that wasn't necessarily talked about, I think there's a decent amount that I can say. When you have a relationship, and I don't mean letting go of a relationship. I mean, when you're in a relationship, when you're talking to somebody, and maybe they're having a problem, maybe they're having issues, and you choose at one point to say, you know what? I'm going to let this person go on their own and help them, help them by letting them do it themselves. There are those cases where you kind of just have to let the person go. There are cases where you have problems that, drama that arises between you and another person or two people that you know. And there are times when you need to take action. Even if you're not the person that should be involved with it, you can do something. And there are times where you need to just let it go and not worry about it. So it's important to be able to distinguish those points, right? So it's the same topic, but on a different scale, because it's interesting to navigate those interactions and those relationships and figuring out how do I best move the relationship in the direction that is best. I found that personally, when someone else is going through something, I can be there and try to help them a bunch. And what I end up doing is hurting them because I enable them. I give them the out. I give them the ability of someone to just yell at until they're okay. I give them that security, that false sense of security that I'm there for them. Because the truth is, I'm not always there for them. The only person that's always there for them is themselves. Because wherever you go, you take you with you. Mm-hmm. Not everyone else is going to be there. So there are times where you look at a scenario, you look at a person who's struggling with something, and the right call on some occasions is to go, you know what? The best thing I can possibly do for them is let them go. Let them go out on their own. Let them calm themselves rather than have me calm them. It can be hard. It can be a hard decision to make. But one thing I discovered is this. Sometimes the more I interfere, the longer it takes for someone to learn. If I can get the nuggets across, if I can get the points across, the information across that will help them, if I can guide them by saying, by getting the information to them, like, hey, this is where you're at. And if I were you, this is what I would do. And the reason I would do those things are because of this, this, and this. And it just makes sense. And then they will say, no, science says no. I'm not doing that. Instead, I'm going to complain, And those situations, the best thing you can do is say, okay, I've given them the building blocks. I've given them the information that they need. I know that if I back off now, they're going to get it eventually. Someday, they're going to understand and realize the truth that I told them. I can sit there and be their crutch for eons, and they'll never believe me. But if I just let them be on their own, you know what? They're a human. And I believe in them. I have trust in them. I think they can do it. So I'm going, and really the thing is, it's not necessarily up to them. It's not up to me either. A lot of times I look at it and be like, well, that's what they're going through. God is the only one that can really be there for them at all times, other than themselves. And hopefully God can have some influence on them. But other than that, it's up to them. It's up to them what they decide. So as soon as I've done, if I'm done stating what I need to state, whether they agree to it or not, maybe they don't believe me. Maybe they do. Maybe they understand, but they still refuse to take action, which happens a lot. You give someone great advice and they're like, that is really good advice. I'm never going to do that. It's like, okay. It's fine. At that point, I can be sure that it's time to let go. Why? Because I can do no more. And the more I try to do, the more it seems I do nothing. When you're trying to help someone, when you're trying to change their life, a lot of times what we try to do is we try to, give them advice, help them fix it. As soon as they get the information of how to fix it, they don't need that again. They don't need you to console them necessarily the same way over and over and over. A lot of times what they need to do is just to build self-strength, to build strength in themselves. But you can't build strength in yourself like if another person is being your strength. You have to build strength in yourself by building strength in yourself, right? You have to do things yourself. You can't teach anybody how to play the piano without putting a piano in front of them and letting them play on it. And so at some point you have to let that go, and you have to trust in them that eventually they'll work it out. Eventually they're going to figure it out, and it might take a couple of years, but you know what? Just say, I believe in you. You are going to figure it out. That's the best approach you can take sometimes. So that's kind of on the relationship side. Sometimes you have people who are at ends with each other, and you can step in and be a shining light that stops the drama. There are many times I remember doing this a long time ago in the past. I'd show up in a chat room, a live chat room, and people were bickering. People were not at ease with each other. It was very, volatile. And I would come in and I would just go like, hey guys. And then I would private message them individually and be like, oh my gosh, you have you're really intelligent. The type of things that you're saying. That's really smart. And then I go to the other one and I would say, the thing you said about this is so right. Right? Like I'm picking sides on both of them, without them knowing it. Right? And then in the chat at the same time, I'm interacting with both of them and I'm just being completely like, yeah. I could see your point. That is pretty true. And then, and just kind of like being on both of their sides. What happens is beautiful. They both feel like, you know what? Someone acknowledged what I said. And that was all I needed. The whole point of arguing something wasn't to prove the other person wrong. It was to be shown that I was right. And I'm there to show, yeah, you are right. And the other person, yeah, you are right. Because a lot of times we are. A lot of times people are right, but maybe not all the way. Or maybe there's, a misunderstanding of terms or a contention between, yeah, but I want to be the one that's like on the top that's been proven, yeah, I was right all the way. We have that nature about us, but it's solvable in those cases where you just enter in and you just be a light, that calms them down, that brings them back down to a less aggressive, less angry form of themselves by letting them know that, you know what, you're on their side. You're on both of their sides. And the thing is, once you like in my private messages with them, like I would talk to them and I'd say, like, I'd start out with, something just like, hey, how's it going? And then I would say like, oh yeah. Oh, I see you kind of having a discussion in the chat, I totally agree with you on this. That's actually a really good point, and then I delve into something a little bit more deeper and deeper. I continue the conversation by adding in something a little bit more personal, like, this is something that I thought about, blah, blah, blah. What do you think about that? What's your opinion? And then they give me their opinion on a subject, right? And then now I've drawn them away from the argument and I'm having a conversation with them. And now they're more focused on the conversation with me than they are the argument that they're having, right? Mm-hmm. And then I can also bring up points where it's like, man, it's so annoying when people do this, right? And it's like something they were just doing. And they're like, yeah, I know it is annoying. And I'm like, oh, shoot, I was just doing that. You can third party people all the time, right? And I love that when you third party people, you just like, hey, I once met this guy who said this and this and this, and I was like, yeah, that's so on. And then you don't have to be the person that proves them wrong. It was some other person, they don't know, and people are more willing to accept that because they don't know the person that's proving them wrong. Mm-hmm. They're just like, yeah, it's okay, because that guy's a scientist or whatever, right? Anyways, it's a big mental game. But ultimately the point is, it's okay to get involved in other people's drama and so on in order to help change it, in order to help bring light to it. Because there are times when you can look at something and you can identify clearly they're not going to be able to do that on their own. They don't have the skill sets necessary to accomplish making something good out of the scenario that they have in front of them. So let me be an example of what those skill sets are. Let me show them through my action how to solve a situation like this. And it doesn't happen by telling them that they're wrong. It doesn't happen by telling them like, hey, look at me, I'm the one doing it right and you guys are doing it wrong. It happens through just acting out of love, out of sincere care for the individuals. And then that kind of by nature helps to start to resolve the issue at hand. Because at the end of the day, don't we all want to be loved, right? That's the main reason. It's like, I just want to be proven right. It's because we want that value, right? We want to show that, hey, you know, I'm smart too, right? We want to be smart. Like no one, right? That's if you just fulfill that for that person, suddenly their anger dies down and they can help resolve their own issues. But they needed someone to step in and just be like, dude, yeah, no, you are smart. You really are. I respect that, man. So that's really all I had to say on this topic. I hope that helps. Obviously, the line is up to you and up to your values, up to what you decide you want to live for, right? For me, I have a saying: keep the main thing the main thing. What's your main thing? You know, that's all you can do. That's all you can live up to. So, Joe, did you have anything else you wanted to add on to that before we get going?
Just the one thing as you're going through this, you know, whether it's in personal relationships or making decisions about your life and your actions and what you're doing, there are going to be times when you make the wrong decision. When you're trying to differentiate between, you know, something that is you need to let go of or something you need to change, maybe you let go of it and it turns out you were wrong, that it's actually something you needed to change. Or vice versa. Maybe you try and change it and it's actually something you needed to let go of. There are going to be times when you're wrong. You're going to make the wrong choice. So this is where self-forgiveness and self-repentance come in. Because that's how you heal from that. You know, like we've talked about many, many times. It's okay. It's okay. You're going to make the wrong decision sometimes. You're never going to be perfect. I have a long list of things where I've made the wrong decision in this particular scenario, where I've chased down a rabbit hole. I needed to let go of it years ago. But doggone it, I stuck to my guns for way too long. You know? And vice versa. There are things that I've let go of that I'm like, dang it. If I'd have held on to that, boy, where'd I be right now? But the point is, I made a decision and I learned something. And that's going to be the same for you. You're going to make decisions and you're going to learn something. And it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be just fine. Your life is going to go on. The world's going to continue to turn. And no matter how many mistakes we make, we can still try again tomorrow. We got a whole new day. We can try again. And you can ask yourself the question like I asked before in the previous question. Am I doing the best I can do right now? Am I at my best right now? And if you're trying your best, angels can do no more. And you can make it happen. So learn to repent when you do something wrong, and then learn to forgive yourself. Because it is going to happen where you make the wrong decision. And just understand, it doesn't change how valuable you are when you make those wrong decisions. So anyway, that's all I had to add.
All good. And Hero, if you feel like you missed anything, you can always rewind the YouTube tape and take another listen.
The YouTube
Um,
tape.
Yeah, I was gonna say rewind the tape, but it's YouTube, so
The YouTube
I had
tape.
to throw
It's a
YouTube in there at
YouTube tape.
least.
Rewind the YouTube tape. It's a thing. You drag it across the screen.
Yeah, sounds right.
That's how you
so-
rewind the YouTube tape.
Thank you. That is true. You just there's like a circle on a line, and you take the circle with your device, finger, mouse, however your device works, and then you drag it to the left.
After I smash that like button.
Yeah, after you smash that like button and kick that bell.
Ring the subscribe.
Yeah. Guys, why don't you click that comment section and smash the bell? All right. Thank you all so much for joining us. And we are going to see you guys once again next week on Don't Worry Wednesday. We love you all. We are so happy every time we get to be here with you guys. You guys have such an awesome attitude. Seriously, it's a joy to be with you guys. It's a joy to see your comments and be a part of your guys' amazing lives. We're honored, and yeah, we hope, sincerely hope that you guys have a beautiful rest of your week and life, and however that goes, forever.
And ever and ever.
Yeah. Forever and ever. All right. See you guys later. Bye-bye. Peace.
Love you guys. We'll see you in a week.